Our second review topic is types of variables. So this is important in statistics because we use different types of analyses when the variables differ. So we're going to pay a little bit of attention to this slide, types of data. Types of data determine what kind of test you can actually do. And we break it down initially into quantitative, which just means numbers. The answer that an individual provides is going to be a number, like your blood pressure, your heart rate, your height, or something like your score on a certain test. All of those are quantitative, meaning numbers. Qualitative, the answers are going to be provided in words, like your favorite color or what type of car you drive. Okay, and qualitative are broken down further into two types of variables. We can have nominal variables, which the answers are going to be in words. The order of them won't make any difference. So if I ask you your favorite color, I might have on the list for you to choose red, blue, green, etc. And none of these are inherently different from any other. I could list them blue first, red first, green first. It wouldn't matter. Ordinal variables, so the answers are words. The order doesn't matter. You know, what type of pet do you have? Dog, cat, fish. It wouldn't matter what order we listed the options in. We could put them in alphabetical order. It wouldn't matter. Ordinal variables, we also have the answer in words, but the order matters. So the example that they have here is if I was asking you to rate your current happiness level, well, you might have happy, neutral, unhappy. If I was going to list these, I wouldn't want to put unhappy first, then happy, then neutral. I would always list them in this order, 1, 2, 3. If I was asking you your year in school, whether you were a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, or a senior, well, the order would matter. And if I was going to make a graph, I wouldn't want to put them in alphabetical order. That would be freshman, junior, sophomore, senior. That wouldn't make any sense. The order would matter. And very often we would number them 1, 2, 3, 4, and we would analyze them using the same tests we would use for continuous variables. So in this case, a nominal variable where the order doesn't matter, that's where we're going to get into our chi-square and tests like this at the end of the semester. If the order does matter, then we would usually use some sort of a t-test, ANOVA, correlation, etc. So we're mostly working with quantitative in this class, and we usually take ordinal variables, even though the answers might be words. How satisfied with you? I'm very satisfied. We turn them into numbers and analyze them in this way. We're not going to worry about these, but let's pay a little bit of attention to whether quantitative variables are discrete or continuous. So continuous variables mean that the answer a person gives could fall anywhere along a continuum. So if I ask somebody their weight, the weight could be, I don't really know for an adult human, maybe as low as 85. And the maximum, I don't know either, maybe, 300 or even more probably. So the human weight could fall anywhere here. And someone could weigh 150.7, right? They could be right here, or they could be, right next to it here, and we could break these down as far as we wanted to go. Numbers could fall anywhere along this continuum. This is a purely continuous variable. If the numbers could not be in fractions, if they're whole numbers, like the number of children you can have 1, 2, 3, 0, 4, 6, but you can't have 4.2. They're whole numbers, right? And that's a discrete variable, meaning just that it can't be broken down any further. The analysis doesn't matter that much. It does sometimes matter how we display those data. So here are some examples where we just distinguish between nominal and ordinal. And of course, remember, nominals differ by name only. Ordinal are also verbal answers, but the order makes a difference. Favorite snack type, if I give you the options of sweet, salty, or spicy, we would consider this a nominal variable. It doesn't matter if I list sweet first or spicy first. It doesn't make any difference. It's nominal. Year in school, we just gave this example as an ordinal. Dessert size, tiny, small, medium, large, jumbo. This, even though the answers are words, this is an ordinal variable, and we probably analyze it using a quantitative method. And your degree category, what degree are you in? Are you in business, physical science, arts, literature, social science? We would consider this a nominal variable because we can list these in any order. We can put them in alphabetical order or whatever we decide. The order doesn't matter. Discrete versus continuous variables, values that are defined and they can't have values in between. And so we could consider, nominal and ordinal values as types of discrete variables, but we usually think of these as numeric variables where the answers have to be whole numbers. You can have 1, you can have 2, you can have 3 children, you can't have 1.6. And then continuous variables just means there's an infinite number of values between the highest and the lowest, between the minimum and the maximum. You might be 25 years old, but if you did the work, you're like 25.634. It's probably not precisely the moment you were born. And even if it was, that would be 25.0. And so the value can fall anywhere in between. Alrighty. Some examples of continuous variables. Age, income, education, miles to the nearest hospital, GPA, test scores. You'll see this word range here. The minimum might be 16 of whatever this variable is, maybe the age variable. The maximum might be 80. The range is just the maximum. Let's write these down, minimum and maximum. The range is just maximum minus minimum. Okay, and there's an example of this continuous variable where anyone's answer can fall anywhere in between. Typically, if we're going to display these, and we'll talk about this in our next chapter, this would be really messy to display, so very often we use categories. So if we used categories like this, then we are kind of clustering these and using the variables a little bit differently so that we can organize them in a more tidy way. We would analyze differently. We would use these groups primarily for display purposes and less so for analysis purposes. Okay, so age, values might be 0 to 110. That would be a continuous variable. The number of work hours per week might be 0 to 80. I hope not, but that would be a continuous variable as well. The values could fall anywhere. Your political party, Democratic, Republican, Independent, Green, Other, that's a nominal variable. We can list them in any order. And your education level, less than high school, some college, associate, bachelor, master, PhD, professional. Ordinal, if we were going to show these data, the order would be important. Likert scale are a type of ordinal variable, and you can see here that this question is, how would you rate the quality of this particular chocolate ice cream? Poor, fair, good, very good, or excellent. You can see the answers are words, so you know it's a qualitative variable, but we would usually treat these as we would usually treat something like this. We'd assign numbers to these values. Maybe this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But this does mean that it's ordinal. The answers are in words, but we're assigning numbers. The order matters. And we could also use a slider scale, something where we could move this and someone could just put their slider right here, which might be 2.33. And in that case, we're taking the same question and we're just assigning it using it as a strictly continuous variable where people's scores could fall anywhere in between. So some examples, grades A, B, C, D, F. The answers are clearly words or letters in this case, qualitative, but they're ordinal. The order would matter. Height in inches, that would be, let me just see how I have this here. That would be continuous. You could fall, your height could be anywhere. You can get it down to the ½ inch, quarter inch, eighth, and as low as you want to go. The hours of study time per typical day during the active semester. If you were answering this question, you'd provide a number, and so you know it's quantitative. And your number could be, 3.5, anywhere in there. So this would not be discrete. This would be a continuous variable. If I ask you the same question, and I ask you to choose a category, less than 1, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6, and so forth, now we've turned the same question into an ordinal variable, because your answers now will be these kind of words, and we would assign them numbers if we were going to organize them. Your satisfaction with your current living situation, you can see the answers are words, but the order matters. We wouldn't want to mix these up, so this is an ordinal variable. And the number of fruit servings in a typical week would be a continuous variable. Probably you could have something like 1.5, depending on how they're defining these servings. And so now you are ready to take practice 1B, types of variables.